Hey, true believers. I'm fucking pissed. I am. I'm really pissed off. And it's not just, yeah, it is this. You know, we can't have a day. I just posted a video. Check it out. It's got Todd McFarlane talking about a day he spent with Stan Lee, and it's nice. And it's a good memory. It's a good way to think of Stan Lee, and the fact that some people are thinking of Stan Lee the way we are. And can't have one day. No, not even one fucking day. There's this document. It was obtained by the Hollywood Reporter. Yeah, they're the ones that broke this particular story. It begins with a little background explaining that Lee and his late wife had arranged a trust for their daughter because she had trouble supporting herself and overspent. She just spent way too much money. It's not uncommon for JC to charge in any given month $20,000 to $40,000 on credit cards, sometimes more, the document stated. It goes on to describe how when he and his daughter disagree, which is often, she typically yells and screams at me and cries hysterically if I do not capitulate, he says. Lee explains that JC will from time to time demand changes to her trust, including the transfer of properties into her name. He has resisted such changes, he states, because they would greatly increase the likelihood of her greatest fear, that after my death she will become homeless and destitute. It sounds like that would happen anyway. More than likely, of course, because Stan Lee's wealthy, she grew up that way and doesn't really know what money is. It's like, hey, go get me a coffee. What do they cost? $1,000 or something like that. That kind of thing. The declaration then explicates how three men with bad intentions, Gerardo Jerry Oliveras, Kia Morgan, and JC's attorney Kurt Schneck, had improperly influenced his daughter, a woman with very few adult friends. The document claims the trio has insinuated themselves into a relationship with JC for an ulterior motive and purpose to take advantage of Lee and gain control over my assets, property, and money. I guess it's changing. This story and such changes from first to third person. So I guess that's what they're saying. Gain control over, that's when he's speaking. Sorry, it's not edited very well. Lee's estate is estimated to be worth $50 million and $70 million. It's been reported he receives $1 million a year for his Marvel ties. Yeah, I heard about this a long time ago. And while his primary role with the company is now mostly ceremonial, including, of course, the cameos in every film, he remains a deity in fanboy culture. Amen. Despite the fact that his health requires nursing care at home and on the road, up until his most recent illness, Lee was jovial, regular at international comic conventions, where he can draw thousands of paying autograph seekers. Hells to the yeah. So anyway, the document continues. A few days after the declaration was notarized, however, Lee changed his mind, or someone did. Whatever happened, Lawless was soon out as Lee's attorney in a confrontation that grew tense enough that the LAPD was called to the legend's Hollywood Hills home. Morgan and JC began consolidating their power over Lee. Mike Kelly, Lee's assistant for nearly a quarter century, who used to come by the house most days for one-on-one meetings, was limited to weekly pre-approved and supervised visits. A new accountant, Vince McGuire, Toby's brother and Morgan's friend, was hired. The housekeeper and gardener, who had been with Lee for decades, were sent packing, and a revolving door of lawyers were retained over 6 weeks until the pair introduced Lee to his current counsel, Jonathan Frond. Lee's phone number has been changed, and his emails are being monitored and composed by Morgan. Stan Lee has macular degeneration, and his eyes cannot see small letters, Morgan explains. I have been taking him to the eye doctor and reading his emails for him for many years. This is his request, and he thanks me for helping him. Now, when Morgan learned that THR, the Hollywood Reporter, obtained a copy of the seemingly damning declaration, he filmed a video of Lee distancing himself from the document. In the clip, while Lee doesn't deny signing the declaration, he calls its contents totally incorrect, inaccurate, misleading, and insulting. Lawless says he went through the contents with Lee word by word and line by line. I may be wearing a tinfoil hat, but it really does seem like this group of people has been separating Lee from all that he knows and loves so that they can control his world, and I guess that's what we're learning here. And I do remember some people were saying how his longtime bodyguard, the guy who was originally accused of all this stuff, would never have done that. And it may ring true because of what we're hearing now. In the video, an animated and robust Lee goes on to state that my relationship with my daughter has never been better, and my friend Kenya Morgan and I also have a great relationship. Anybody who is saying anything else is just spreading lies. JC declined to speak with THR. Instead, Schneck, her lawyer, says the story isn't that JC is taking advantage of her father, but that she's potentially being taken advantage of by multiple men. Lee himself remains mostly silent, except for a brief recorded statements coordinated and released by Morgan. Now, and of course this is me speaking, have said in the past that it really does seem like ever since Joni had died, it seems like the sharks came out. It really did. And surprisingly enough, that's what they found out as well. The story continues to say, signs abounded that chaos would reign if Joni were the first to die. There was Lee's people-pleasing habit of telling whoever was in front of him what they wanted to hear. His history of bad financial decisions, like never properly cashing in on Marvel, and his susceptibility to bad actors, including a doomed partnership called Stanley Media with Peter F. Paul. Yeah, a convicted drug dealer. Yeah, I remember that. Add to this, Lee's depression bred distrust of banks, leading to rumors he hid millions in cash all over his property. Joni was always more successful at handling their unruly only daughter, with whom Stan has a powder keg relationship. Though some with intimate knowledge of the household speak of her vivacious spirit and kindness, the never-married JC had a reputation as a prodigious shopper with an ill-tempered personality who has been kicked out of multiple businesses around Los Angeles, including, according to a dining companion at the time, the Chateau Marmont. She chafed at what she sees as unjust restrictions on her trust and has taken that out on her father. According to medical personnel who have cared for Lee, JC's badgering often insulting phone calls to her father, which can number in the dozens a day, and which out of a mix of guilt and love he nearly always answers. I can understand that. Frequently leave him hoarse from fighting for any little thing she'll argue, says a former caregiver. And it continues even more. According to household staff and business associates, there have been times when JC's verbal outbursts have turned physical. One incident took place in the winter of 2014. Lee's former business and assistant manager Bradley J. Herman, after JC discovered that the new Jaguar convertible parked outside, which she thought had been purchased for her, was in fact only leased. Son of a bitch. And in her father's name of all things. Gosh, what a... Anyway, Herman in Stan's office to handle... Herman in Stan's office to handle some paperwork recalls that the argument spiraled out of control. JC called her parents fucking stupid, and Joni told her the car was now Joni's. According to Herman, who's active JC then roughly grabbed her mother by one arm, shoving her against a window. Joni fell to the carpeted floor. Lee, seated in a nearby chair and looking stunned, told JC he was cutting her off. I'm going to stick you in a little apartment and take away all your credit cards, Herman recalls Lee shouting. I've had it with you, you ungrateful bitch. And in a rage, JC took hold of Lee's neck, slamming his head against a chair's wooden backing. Joni suffered a large bruise on her arm and bursts of blood vessels on her legs. Lee had contusions on the rear of his skull. And JC has denied this incident. Sounds very, very nice. Really does sound like a brat. A brat that grew to the point where she was able to physically abuse her parents, and she did. Shortly afterward, allegedly at Jones' behest, Herman took photos that purport to show her injuries, which he shared with THR. Another visitor to the house shortly thereafter confirms the wounds. Herman contends the parents asked him not to pursue the matter, with police weary of publicity and law enforcement for their daughter, whom they viewed as emotionally fragile and who told intimates was still haunted, even as a senior citizen herself, by the bullying of her childhood. The rest of the article goes on to talk about how the three men basically are fighting for control over Stanley. It's pretty disgusting. It really is. And judging by what they say about Stanley needing to tell people what they want to hear in order to have them like him, it really does sound like he gave praise to everybody, so they believe they are the cat's pajamas and the A number one in Lee's life. That's not blaming the victim, by the way. It's just setting up and understanding exactly how this could have come to pass. You know, they're still shits. Joni or JC, if what they say is true here, which there's witnesses to say that it is, sounds like somebody who has not been told no enough. I remember a line from a movie George Clooney was in. I forget it. It took place on Hawaii. And he says, the thing about being rich is you want to give your kids just enough money to do anything and not enough money to do nothing. And it sounds like she got enough money to do nothing and is now abusive about it. She's so used to getting what she wants. Wow. But to find that Stan Lee is surrounded by this, you know, it's like the sharks came out to play. They smelled blood in the water when Joni died, and man, they're taking chunks off of every bit of him that they can. That's what I'm getting anyway. So anyway, I'm going to leave the link to the article below because I don't want to read any more of this. I have read it all, but you guys could check it out for yourself. It's just incredibly sad. Once again, if you want to visit with Stan Lee from somebody who cared about Stan Lee for who he was and what he meant, go check out the video I did where Todd McFarlane shares his visit. It's just so nice. It really is. And if you, I don't know. It just pisses me off. This kind of shit pisses me off. Anyway, wow, I don't want to do the pitch this time. You know the pitch. If you've watched my videos before, I will just ask, put your comments in the comments below. I want to thank everybody who takes time to watch these videos, takes time to watch this. It really does mean a lot to me. I won't pitch, but I, of course, will always thank the patrons as you're going to get the credits at the end of the video as well. But, yeah, let me know. I know there's nobody who's like, yay, I'm happy this is happening. So just put your comments in the comments section below, and we'll just share our comments. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do a live stream where we're going to be talking about the comments. So, yeah, by all means, once again, leave them down below.